All right, this is a chi-square test of independence, scenario 2, page 227 of your notes. So determine whether men with a combination of childhood abuse and a certain abnormal gene are more likely to commit violent crimes. A study is run on a simple random sample of 575 males in the 25 to 35 age group. The data are summarized in the table below. And if I add all these up, they actually do sum to 575. Normally, they won't total these things for you, and you're going to have to do them yourself. I'm not even give you the column to do so, just as a good idea to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to add all these up real quickly for you, and you should do the same. And once again, they may or may not give this to you. And I'm also going to tell you that we're only going to do part A. We're not going to do part B and C. It becomes too redundant. And by the way, this is a dark problem, and I don't even particularly like doing it because it is dark. Is there evidence of a relationship? So the fact that we have the word relationship, I have something with multiple rows and columns, I'm thinking this is going to be a chi-square test. In fact, I have two rows and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So remember, if it's a chi-square test of independence and the word relationship goes, oh, they're looking for a relationship, they want to know if they're independent or not, I'm going to go degrees of freedom equals row minus 1 times column minus 1. So, and I'll 2 minus 1 times, 2 minus 1 times 1, 2, 3, 4 minus 1. So this is 1 times 3, which is 3. So my degrees of freedom for this are going to end up being 3. All right. So my null hypothesis is I don't even know what to call this because we have not abused in normal gene. So I'm going to call 1, 2, 3, 4 the 4 categories. And behavior, normal and criminal, and behavior are independent. And if they're independent, this is our note to ourselves, that means they are not associated. And remember, we like doing it this way because this is consistent with our equal sign. And then our alternative, the 4 categories and behavior are not independent. And our note to ourselves means this is associated. And once again, are not is the same as saying not equal. All right. Or is not independent. Our conditions, the first one, random sample. Well, up here they said simple random sample, that's good. So first one, random sample given. The next one, N needs to be less than 10%. Our sample size is 575. So 575 divided by 0.1. $5,750. I don't know if it is or not, but we're going to claim that N is less than 10% of the population. It is reasonable to believe that there are at least 5,750 people with these attributes. 500,750 men with these attributes. Number 3, we're looking for expected values. All expected values greater than 5. See table. Like, we haven't done that yet. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So we can go about doing it by hand. And by hand, I'd go 249 times 127 divided by 575. 249 times 127 divided by 575. That equals 54.99. And that ends up being a lot of work. But I have room up here, and this is what you would normally do, is you'd write it up here at 0.997. Right? So I'm going to need to write all of these out here. So here's the way we do this using the matrix, just as a reminder. All right? So second matrix, excuse me, I'll show you this again. So second, here's the matrix button. All right, arrow over the word edit, press enter, and I have 1, 2 rows, so 2, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns because we don't count the totals. We're only looking at these right here. This is all we're looking at 2 by 4. And we have 48, 21, 32, 26, 201, 79, 118, and 50. So we have everything in. Then we're going to go second quit, stat, calc test. And we're going to go ahead and run this thing. And remember, it's a chi-squared test. It's not the goodness of fit. And we're going to go ahead and write down the information it gives us. So we're ending up getting a chi-squared. We end up getting a chi-squared. And it doesn't matter, but we're going to note this down to ourselves so we have it. So our chi-squared equals 7.75 degrees of freedom. We said was 3, and our p-value equals 0.051, 0.0514. All right. So I still don't have my expected values, but I can get those real quickly now that I've done all of this work. So I'm going to go ahead and press clear, and I'm going to go second, and I'm going to re-enter the matrix. All right, press edit, drop down to B, and there we go, 54.997. And then we have 194. Then I have 22.087, 77.913, 33.13, 116.87, 16.786. The last one, 59.214. All right, and once again, all I did was I went second quit and I went second matrix. And first thing I did was enter my matrix. I entered the original values. I entered what we were supposed to get. Then I went second quit and I ran the test, stat test, chi-squared test, ran the test, pressed clear and went second matrix, and I re-entered the matrix, and there it was. All right. Now, we still have one condition left. The one condition that's left, counted data for observed. All right, so all of our conditions are met, and we're going to go ahead and get to work on our actual problem. And our actual problem is going to go like this. We write our equation, chi-squared equals observed minus expected squared over expected. And we start by doing the first one. And our first one, our observed was 48. Please don't swap the order. They will ding you. All right, you will lose a lot of credit. Maybe half plus dot dot plus, and then 50 minus 59.214 squared over 59.214. Degrees of freedom, you need to show that. Rows minus 1 times column minus 1. So in this case, 2 minus 1 times 3 minus 1 equals 3. Our chi-squared, we already wrote that down earlier. We said it was 7.75, and in case you forgot, stat, test, chi-squared test, 7.75. And we ended up with a p-value of 0.0514. Our alpha is 0.05. It's not much bigger, but it is greater. And because it's greater, we're going to fail to reject the null. As a reminder, you can do this through the calculator, second bars. Scroll down to chi-squared CDF, and we're going to put in our chi-squared value, 7.75. Upper bounds infinity, degrees of freedom is 3. And once again, we get 0.0514. So here's our decision. Here's our conclusion. Our p value is 0.0514. We fail. Make sure that he's consistent. Make sure that you do exactly the same thing here to reject the null. There is not sufficient evidence at alpha equal 0.05 to suggest that the 4 categories and behavior are not independent. So we cannot say that the 4 categories and behavior are associated. We cannot say that the four categories of behavior are associated. All right. And remember, if they're independent, they're not associated. Are not dependent, they are associated. Well, we didn't reject, so we can't say that they are associated. All right, so that concludes this video. I'm going to figure out how to stop recording.